Hi, this is Astro Indicator Update, and today is December 4th. And my name is Steven, and this is episode 23, Market Astro Key Date Review, and some articles. Okay, what do we have going today? Well, it's been a couple weeks since I've done an episode, and a number of markets seem to be right at turning points, if not already have made turning points. So we need to look at those and some astrology dates that are coming up. And then I have just brief comments on two articles that I came across. Jeffrey Gunlock's 2020 forecast, where he sees the market, basically dropping, and then another article dealing with, if Fed rates stay low forever, what does that do to the the financialization that we have in the economy today, this kind of the structural incentives that have been built into our economy, and how that is affecting the inflation-deflation debate. Okay, so let's get into it right here. This is gold. Just as an aside, I am recording this on my laptop. I'm traveling. I'm in this very much tropical climates at the moment, and it is very hot. And I hope you're staying warm if you're in a cold environment. But it is very hot where I'm at, and I've never done this on my laptop, so we'll see how it goes. But this is the chart of gold. And if you can see this trend line right here, which I think is a primary trend line, we have broken above it. And each vertical line that you see here is an astrological key date related specifically to this market. Horizontal lines are support and resistance areas. And we have traditional indicators, momentum indicators below, MACD and RSI. And we do have a crossover taking place in the MACD. This big move that we had yesterday happened on a very important astro key date that I could see ahead of time, years ahead. And it has sort of established this breakout. Like I'll feel more confident when we break above this most recent high right here. It kind of looks like we have a double bottom, and upcoming, let me look at my notes right here, we do have potentially another key date, but oddly enough it falls on December 15th, and that is actually Sunday. So it may affect trading Sunday afternoon. We'll have to see, but that vertical line is December 15th. I see January as being, a bullish month for gold. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing with you my research. But we do have, some technical confirmation, at least, potential double bottom, heading higher from this, bullish wedge, downward leaning wedge. And we have some bullish astrology, coming up. Again, you need to play the technicals, look around that one weekend of the 15th and 16th, and see if we don't get a continuation. Silver, this chart was December 4th. Silver had kind of a down day. I want you to look to see if silver does something over the next couple days, the 5th and 6th of December. I'm getting into my notes right here because historically those are fairly important dates. 5th and 6th, we'll see what happens, and then even in mid-month we have some things going on in silver. But the key here is breaking through this downtrend line. Okay, that downtrend line is critical. And I just accidentally clicked on my cursor and moved us on to Bitcoin because something is happening in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has, just like silver, has some, grade A things going on this Friday, and that's represented by this vertical line. We had a fairly strong beginning of, a big jump higher in the price of Bitcoin this morning, and then it kind of trailed off. It doesn't surprise me because I don't really see any, key astro dates happening today. But let's see what happens over the next, 2-3 days. Give it a, a 1 day leeway, 1 day either side of the 6th. But watch the 6th. Play the technicals as well. If we break higher than this last, intermediate high that my cursor is on, then I think we're definitely going to test this downtrend line. And like gold and silver, there are additional strong astro dates coming up in December. A few just after Christmas, and also into, actually, we have something next week on the 8th, which is that's just actually, that is Sunday the 8th, and then December 19th as well. So you can mark those on your calendar. But this period of time for the precious metals and Bitcoin, this is the time we should see a move higher. If not, we should, reevaluate our trading forecasts. Okay, Dow Jones. In my last episode, I talked about when there's not a lot of astrology going on, historically you see a drop in the market. Okay, it doesn't happen every time, but oftentimes it does. And so, I don't see much going on in this market actually for another month. And they're going to try to keep it up. They're going to try to keep this market up, up until the next elections, and we'll see if they can do that with, interest rates. They might be able to. My next episode is going to kind of concentrate more on the stock exchange and the U.S. chart, and I'll really get into the astrology of it. But looking at this Dow Jones chart, yeah, there's some strong bullish energy right at the end of December, and but that's a long ways away. And we are very overbought in the indicators. We're trending down in the RSI. It bounced right off of some support right here. We'll see if it can get back over this blue horizontal line, might act as resistance now. We'll just have to see. I'm not optimistic. I think we could just trade sideways for a month and then really test things out. Okay, here's the dollar. The dollar, I tend to see how often these vertical lines end up at intermediate highs, boom, boom, boom. And here we are, we've got a whole bunch of lines together, so we may get some up and down business happening in the dollar. And let me take a look at my notes. This is today, tomorrow are very strong days in the dollar. If it doesn't breach and move above this down green trend line right here, I think it's heading south. But another day that we need to watch out for will be December 20th, okay? Right around Christmas. So I look at this channel that the dollar's been trading in as being vitally important, and we just broke through it. That green channel right here. You can see it trading. This is kind of like a halfway point, then it traded down again, and then it broke through. Here, it was sort of a false breakdown, and we bounced back up. Tomorrow is a key day, I think, in the dollar, because if we trade down again, given the astrology that's happening over the next couple days, I think we're heading south. So play the technicals. Watch this line right here. If we get a big day tomorrow, then we're back into the channel, and that's going to have an effect on gold and silver. I kind of lean against that happening, but we'll have to wait and see. And okay, we have definitely some key factors in the economy that will tell us what could be really going on. And kind of the canary in the coal mine is Deutsche Bank when it comes to the health of the banking system. And over the last few days, Deutsche Bank has broken down through this triangle formation that you see that has formed right here. It's broken down, and just today they're back in there trying to buy it back up. But now, instead of just one resistance level to break through, there's about three. Okay? And increasingly, I touched upon this, the astrology of Deutsche Bank in my last episode. Increasingly, Deutsche Bank has problems, and the weight of their debt and so forth is just going to increase particularly over the next year. But it may be happening now. I mean, it could trade down, and people could see this just as a continuation of a bottom pattern forming, and so forth and so on. But if we break down through this, we've already broken through one trend line. If we break through that green line right there, then confidence just becomes a factor that enters into the picture, and then all bets are off, and we'll just see what happens, because confidence right now is still a factor. Everything that's going on, in my opinion, everything that's going on with the repo market and the Fed having to step in over the last few months, and supply funding, overnight funding to all these banks and financial institutions. It really kind of boils down to confidence, because when you see suddenly that overnight lending rate going from 2% to 10%, that is just a reflection of someone not really trusting or having confidence in counterparties at that point. And now the Fed has just completely screwed themselves and painted themselves into a corner, because who is going to want to go out and trust, operate like they did in the past, where you're at risk for getting you're getting your money back if you can just go to the Fed and get your money. And so, I don't know how they're going to, wiggle themselves out of this situation either. And so it's basically kind of socialism for the ultra wealthy in the world, and not for anyone else. So here's just two articles to think about, and it's a bridge to what I'm going to do in my next episode, which will concentrate on the Dow Jones Industrials astrology and the U.S. chart astrology. But we have two kind of diverging opinions, and in one of my last episodes, I had Ray Dalio from Bridgewater. He had made a $1.5 billion option bet that the Dow Jones was going to drop, by next March. Essentially, that's what he was doing, it seemed like. And now we have Jeff Gundlach, who is with Double Line, and he's essentially in the same boat. I mean, he's looking at he's a year ago he thought stocks were going to go up, and now he feels like the bottom may fall out in 2020. And it's the sequencing here that is interesting. That's the real question, because we do have a worldwide downturn, worldwide kind of recession is building, and it's affecting everybody's economy. So, there is a slowdown taking place, and I see that in astrology, particularly with, Saturn influencing the U.S. chart, Saturn affecting the Dow Jones Industrials as well. But what what really seems like what may happen is that we may indeed get some inflation kicking in at a certain point. And so I'm sort of in that camp, and I'm not going to go into it because that's my subject of next week. But I did find this article interesting, and then I found this article at Zero Hedge, and this was interesting as well, because in essence they're trying to spell out for people how things have changed somewhat versus, the historical money printing, producing inflation sort of, truth. But we've created incentives over the last 30 years in which corporations can place the majority of their focus on their financial assets and building, buying back their stocks, promoting other financial interests with cheap money that they can get, they can borrow from the Fed, and put less emphasis on actually growing their business. And when that happens, then they're 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 not supporting the growth in wages from the labor side of the equation, and their focus is just on playing the market and boosting their own stocks. And when that happens, there's in this article they describe how much that is a structural factor that just plays into a cyclical deflationary pattern, and that's the reason why we're not having inflation show up in the system. And anyway, I found this interesting. I don't know how long it can go on. I think there is a limit, and I think the astrology is going to point to that limit getting hit fairly soon, and inflation picking up. I mean, everybody shops in a grocery store knows that there's inflation, but I think that the Fed is committed to keeping rates low. The political factors involved with the next election are committed to keeping the stock market high, and I think we're at a breaking point. And the weak link in all this are banks like Deutsche Bank and the trust in the system, which could show up with high yield corporate bond market starting to drop, and just the bond market essentially. Because when things go to an extreme, confidence is sort of put to the test. And I think that's what we're going to be facing here just within the next couple of months. So those are the outliers that I think go against what this particular author is talking about, but it is worth understanding his argument. So anyway, that's enough for today. I hope this recording is sufficient. Again, my name is Stephen. I have a background in art and psychology. I was a sports psychologist for a while. I've studied astrology for many years, applied it to financial markets. I do some consulting in this area. You can reach me at astroindicator@gmail.com. And I will be back, I think, next week or within the next 10 days with an update. So I hope this recording was satisfactory. And if you liked it, please like my video. And I'll check in with you again shortly. Thanks.